August 19, 1944, Wolfschanz, East Prussia. General Oberst Alfred Jodl placed a precise finger on the map, covering the 400 miles between Normandy and Patton's spearhead. "The Americans have outrun their logistics," he stated, his confidence rooted in immutable arithmetic. An armored division consumed 150,000 gallons of fuel daily. The supply lines were stretched to breaking. Patton's Third Army would grind to a halt within days, perhaps hours, granting the Wehrmacht precious time to regroup at the Seine. What Jodl didn't know was that 125 miles away, the arithmetic of war was being rewritten. 5,958 trucks were already rolling eastward, headlights blazing in defiance of doctrine, carrying 12,500 tons of supplies every 24 hours. The Red Ball Express, a logistics operation so audacious that German military science had never conceived it possible, was about to shatter every assumption about modern warfare. Within 72 hours, Patton's tanks would crash through German positions. Within a week, Paris would be liberated. The teachers of this brutal lesson would be 23,000 truck drivers, 75% of them African American, turning a one-way highway into the most efficient military supply line in history. The German General Staff's confidence stemmed from bitter experience. They had pioneered Blitzkrieg and understood its logistical tyranny. Their own advances in Russia had founded, not on Soviet resistance, but on vast distances and broken-down trucks. They knew the numbers intimately. A Sherman tank gulped half a mile per gallon. An armored division needed 1,000 tons of supplies daily. Patton commanded 12 divisions. The mathematics were irrefutable. 12,000 tons per day, transported 400 miles over ruined roads. It was a logistical impossibility. Generalmajor Siegfried Westphal calculated that even with unlimited trucks and perfect roads, the Americans could not sustain the advance for more than 48 hours. Physical laws, he declared, cannot be violated. But the Americans were not violating physical laws. They were overwhelming them with volume. On August 25, Lieutenant Colonel Laurent A. Ayers stood in a French chateau and unveiled a plan that defied all military precedent. "We're going to create a one-way highway," he announced, christened the Red Ball Express after railway priority terminology. Its rules were heresy. 2 parallel one-way roads, headlights on 24 hours a day, convoys at 5-minute intervals, a strict no-stop policy, and an average speed of 35 miles per hour. Any truck falling below 25 miles per hour was ejected. Within 36 hours, the impossible was operational. German reconnaissance units reported the phenomenon with disbelief. Continuous vehicle column, headlights visible for 20 kilometers, 1 unit radioed, no spacing, no blackout discipline. Estimate 1,000 vehicles per hour. To German doctrine, this was insanity. It invited air attack and presented perfect artillery targets. Yet the convoys rolled on, unscathed and unceasing. General der Panzertruppe, Edgar Feuchtinger, observed the spectacle personally. His report revealed growing alarm. "The enemy operates a supply system beyond our comprehension. It is not military science. It is mass production applied to warfare. The Americans operated on a different principle. Where Germans conserved, Americans consumed. Where Germans emphasized concealment, Americans relied on overwhelming abundance. The numbers achieved were staggering. In its first week, the Red Ball delivered 89,939 tons of supplies. The operation itself consumed 300,000 gallons of fuel daily just to keep moving. German logistics specialists, seeing these figures, dismissed them as propaganda, but they were terrifyingly real. The system was a masterpiece of improvised efficiency. When the 1,800 daily breakdowns occurred, mobile maintenance units performed 15-minute triage before shoving disabled trucks aside. Engines were swapped in 45 minutes. When bridges were destroyed, drivers bulldozed new paths through French fields. They commandeered German vehicles and pressed them into service. The chaos somehow produced perfect order. The psychological impact on the Wehrmacht was devastating. German soldiers, rationed to a few rounds of ammunition, lay in their foxholes and listened to the endless, rumbling symphony of American trucks, a sound that never stopped. It was the sound of inevitable defeat. The knowledge that the enemy had limitless supplies eroded their will to fight as effectively as any bombardment. The backbone of this effort was the Du Sonderhof, a masterpiece of standardized production. General Motors built over 500,000 of them, more trucks than the entire German military possessed. The American maintenance philosophy was equally revolutionary. Discard and replace, don't repair. This prodigious waste was a luxury the Germans could not comprehend, let alone match. By the time the Red Ball Express was phased out in November, it had operated for 82 days, delivering 412,193 tons of supplies. The German post-mortem was a chorus of stunned realization. Feldmarschall Walter Model wrote, "We were not defeated by American tanks or planes primarily. We were defeated by American trucks." General der Infanterie, Friedrich Schultz, concluded, "The Red Ball Express represents warfare we never imagined. They created a temporary civilization that appeared overnight and vanished when its work was done." The operation cost America $100 million, a figure that horrified German officers accustomed to scarcity. Yet it was calculated that each day of war cost the US $250 million. The Red Ball Express, by shortening the war in Europe by an estimated 6 months, had paid for itself many times over. The final, poignant lesson was articulated by an unnamed German officer, witnessed by a Red Ball veteran, watching the endless convoy roll past. He said, in accented English, "We prepared for everything. Your tanks, your planes, your ships. We never prepared for your trucks. How do you defeat an enemy who has more trucks than you have soldiers?" The answer was in the rumble of the Dos und Half, in the exhausted determination of the drivers, in the sheer, undeniable force of abundance. The Red Ball Express had made logistics into strategy, supply into victory, and the humble truck into the most decisive weapon of the war in Europe. The German generals who laughed at American logistics in August 1944 surrendered in May 1945, defeated by 23,000 truck drivers who revolutionized warfare at 35 miles per hour.